really excited to be back here and be able to talk about lithium ionic and some of the key catalysts we have coming up in 2024. Really one of my first opportunities to get out and do a presentation, talk about this exciting project. For those who don't know, Lithium Ionic is a Brazil, Minas Gerais state hosted hard rock project, one of the most prolific pegmatite belts in the entire world, and becoming particularly well known due to the success of projects like Sigma Lithium next door and a 30-year producer, CBL. So I'm very excited to have the opportunity to come here today and talk a little bit about the project. A few cautionary notes that I'll glaze over here, and I'll try to keep it all above board, and we won't have to worry about it. So I mentioned where we are, Brazil and Minas Gerais state. Brazil is a big country. Minas Gerais, it means general mining in Portuguese. It's a particularly excellent sort of tier one jurisdiction for moving projects forward. We have a extensive land package in the East Brazilian pegmatite belt, which is now being coined as the Lithium Valley in Brazil. It's a pegmatite belt that's been known for well over 100 years. It produces most of the world's semi-precious gemstones, amethyst, rose quartz, that type of thing, tourmaline, you'd find anywhere in the world. And the reason for that is it's just a particularly unique geological setting that creates big crystal structures, clean and clean crystal structures as well, and extremely unique in that sense, really only analogous to what you'd find in Western Australia, which is really where most of the world's lithium production comes from, particularly from hard rock. One of those very large, well-formed, clean crystals that it happens to form is spodumene, and spodumene, of course, being the most important lithium mineral in the world right now, and produces a carbonate or hydroxide very simply and cleanly, so easy to produce, and of course makes it extremely unique in that sense too. It's an established district, which I mentioned before. Just to the north of us, about 500 meters away, maybe a little less, is a 30-year producing company, CBL, the privately owned, family-run lithium producer that has done carbonate and hydroxide conversion in country for years and years. They were operating primarily for ceramics in Greece before the EV boom, and now, of course, they're looking to tap into that massive global push and movement. And of course, beside us as well is Sigma Lithium. This is now a $3.5 to $4 billion company that is essentially maybe a few months, 18 months, 20 months ahead of us in the curve of getting into production and ultimately producing. So we have great proof of concept all around us, huge resources being grown around us, and really we think we're in probably one of the most important emerging hard rock lithium belts in the world. And for anybody who knows the space knows that hard rock is going to move the space forward. Spodumene is going to move the space forward because it's simple, low cost, high grade, and quicker and faster to production than most other types of projects, i.e. brine or DLE, lepidolite. So very, very exciting. We've gone out, really been very, very active in since 2022 when we went public in May of that year. We made the discovery of our maiden area we call Bandera, and a couple other interesting discoveries, and one to the north in an area called Salinas as well. We've got a resource of roughly 30 million tons out to the public. That was our second resource. We're going to have another resource out next month where we're hoping to eclipse over 50 million tons of I&I material. And along with that, be able to put out our first feasibility study, which is going to help drive our mining permit as well. So on the initial PEA we put out late last year, sort of in the fall of last year, we showed really, really strong economics for this project using a fairly reasonable, we think, spodumene price of $18.50 per ton. We came out with a 1.6 billion post-tax NPV, 121% post-tax IRR, and that comes with a $230 million capex on the project. It's a high margin, low cost, highly economic project, and we're very, very excited to continue to move that forward. And as well, we've also started to move towards production. In November of last year, we submitted for our construction license to start building our project, and we're hoping to have that permit back by summer of this year so that we can actually start constructing the project. So a lot of big catalysts coming this year. We're going to continue to be out there looking for the partners that are going to help us build it. We're an open company. We're not encumbered by any royalties or offtake agreements at this point. And we have a lot of torque to our name. So we're very, very excited, and an extremely strong team that's continuing to grow the project there. Currently about $140 million market cap, come off a lot in the last few weeks and months, ultimately trading down with the macro of the space. We saw a violent increase in price of lithium through 2022, 2023. And of course, we saw a violent pullback in that price as well. And unfortunately, we probably see violent rip back up too high again. And what we'd like to see in our company is the stabilization of lithium price and spodumene price, so that we can ultimately show that this is a very quick payback, very important project moving forward that works at good margin price on spodumene, something more like $2,000 or $3,000 a ton. We don't need $9,000 or $10,000 a ton to be extremely economic. So I think we all can look at the macro, the demand for batteries and the demand for lithium, and understand that we're going to see that price recover. But for now, obviously, we're in a bit of a lull in the space, and seeing some of that fast money move back out. We have about $10 million in the bank. We're chugging along quite well. That'll take us into the middle of this year. I think by that point, we'll have been able to show that we have construction financing in place and get our license to be able to build a project. So we're in really good shape that way as well. Strong institutional holding, and well covered by the street as well. Desjardins, Canaccord, Claris, Stifel, BMO all cover the name. And we're an emerging idea for Cormark as well, and I believe for Haywood Security. So well written up, and lots of information out there for people that are looking for it. Excellent management team, of course. Everybody says that, but we really do have it. We're very fortunate to have Helio Diniz, Paulo Misk. These guys are, and Carlos Costa. Some of these guys are over 40 years of experience in the Minas Gerais state, both making significant discoveries that have gone to production, and also building the projects, in the case of Paulo, to actually go into production and operating them as well. So very, very lucky. Without that team, we wouldn't be able to move these projects forward. And we just brought on Mike Wessendorf from Copper Mountain, who was really running the operations of that project before the Hud Bay takeout. So bringing on a lot of key people that know how to develop and build projects and ultimately move those forward. I could go on and on about our team, but obviously I think we have an extremely strong team and well placed in Brazil. I've talked a lot about Minas Gerais state so far, but obviously a team that is based there. Our office is really in Belo, so the company is essentially based in Brazil, and that's important to us. But I think what is important to note is, of course, we have important people around us in CBL and Sigma that are producing right next door to us that show that proof of concept. But the infrastructure, this is how we keep costs low. This is how projects move forward well, and it's where some of the other projects in the world are starting to stumble is, the massive cost of infrastructure to get these projects up and running. We're very fortunate to have paved roads, hydroelectric power, access to port, flat land to work on, an extremely supportive community, no sort of resistive indigenous issues, and no major environmental impact issues as well. So we're not in the Amazon. We're in an area that is certainly amenable to moving projects forward. And again, Minas Gerais state, where the permitting comes from, is extremely supportive of this type of project. We're looking to, obviously be ingrained in the community, and the community seems to be extremely receptive to that. Two main areas I mentioned: the Bandera, which is in the Itinga property area to the south. This is where you'd find Sigma and CBL. And then we have a property to the north, Salinas, which we really don't get any value for in our share price now. It's right next door to a company called Latin Resources. They have over 75 million tons defined in resources, and we're going to have a maiden resource coming out next month on this as well, that we expect to be over 10 million tons. So very, very excited about the opportunity at Salinas too. And again, Itinga, which is near the town of Araçuaí, and really where a lot of the production is coming from at this point, continues to grow. The more we drill, the more we find. It's just a spectacular region to make new discoveries, high grade, well-formed spodumene. A breakdown of that resource, most of it coming from Bandera, a little bit. We drill out a sort of a smaller 3 million ton portion of it. Most of the resource comes from Bandera, and that'll continue to be the case as our resource update comes out in about a month. It is amazing how quickly these projects move along, how quickly you can drill them off, and they show significant growth. And I do credit our technical team and our exploration team for being, I think, some of the best in the region to be able to narrow in on understanding the geology here. It's not extremely complicated in the sense that it's not moved and deformed and overly complex. However, I will give them the credit that they do an excellent job of trying to understand the fluids and the things that control these belts. And I think over the last 2 years, we've really kind of paved the way for understanding how to continue to grow these resources. A little bit of the highlights of the PA I kind of already went through. I would also mention, a 14-month payback in this. If we can get back to a place where we're over 2,000 tons, $2,000 a ton spodumene, which I don't think is a far cry from where we're going, this project will pay itself off in less than a year. So we're very, very excited to be able to have a project that's going to do, roughly 200,000 tons of concentrate per annum of 5.5% type material. That at a very large scale, or certainly a good scale. This is a moment in time. This is a study that came out, and so will the fees. These are studies that have come out so that we can move forward getting into production. We're already outlining new areas that are near surface, new areas that are to the north and to the west. That ultimately we here, and really our goal is to continue to move into world-class territory, both on scale and operation potential. So the PEA is great. I think it's an excellent number. The economics are very, very interesting. I think that will carry into the feasibility study, but I do continue to highlight that this is a moment in time, and by no means the end of the story here for us. We're going to continue to grow and push those thresholds even higher, and that's how we think we're going to continue to close the value gap to ourselves and a company like Sigma or Liontown. I won't spend too much time on the processing and operating costs and capex, but ultimately what we've looked at is starting this project from an underground perspective, a simple ramp. It's at surface, but this is one of the best ways to access it with the space we have. This is again subject to change as we continue to find new things near surface. But ultimately, we have a really good plan here and a team that knows how to execute. So we're very excited about that, and we've been able to cost base off of projects around us. So we think we have real-time costs, and we have a good handle on what our all-in sustaining is going to be on this, and even at these current lithium prices, we still show a strong margins on a project like this. So we're very, very excited about this opportunity. I won't spend too much time looking at this. It's a bit of the production profile. It's steady. Grade here is steady. It's not mine design to go with that. You can have a look here. That's how some of the cross sections in the area, how they behave. These are very large zoom outs. These are kind of wide, 10 sort of plus meter zones. They swarm the area, and for anybody who knows the geology in this region, there are different fluid types that kind of drive the highest grade lithium in the belt, and you actually want to find areas that have swarming intrusions, and that tends to take the best sort of last gas fluids of a spodumene rich pegmatite that will actually form really some of the highest grade, highest quality stuff in the belt. So I think we've done a good job of drilling it off. What we're continuing to see is that the deposits are still open at depth, and they're still open on strike, and we're able to by accident. So pretty amazing area. You can have a look at. They don't follow one singular direction. Some of them are flat lying. Some of them are vertical or more kind of laid back. But ultimately, what that is these fluids are just following existing structures. So once you get on them, it's about understanding the structure and drilling them off well. Talked a lot about Sigma and CBL around us already, but you get a little bit of the lay of the land. The dark gray is where we are. A lot of the Sigma ground, very similar land package to us. They have about 19,000 hectares. We have about 15,000 hectares. So really, we control a lot of what is the most important areas of this kind of prolific lithium valley. And that's because our team was able to stake this material many years ago. And so, we were there before a lot of the newer kind of claim staking of the lithium rush came in. So we're fortunate to have this ground. And I also credit our team for being able to pick up new ground. And I think that's a lot to do with being Brazilians in Brazil. So we'll continue to grow that if we can. And really, we've only just begun to scratch the surface of the exploration upside of the area. This is going to be a massive project. I just keep this one in here to show that, you know, we're not making an extra virgin olive oil in this area. It's not in the Amazon. It's flat land. There's no major relief issues. You can see how close we are to a producer. You know, really right on the border of that. And to the south, we've got a huge portion of Sigma's resource to the southwest. So we're kind of in position A for land and access. And I talk about Sigma a lot. I think that they've had a lot of success. Anna and her team have done a really good job of growing their project at the right time and doing it through poor times as well, or rougher lithium markets. I think for us, it's, you know, this is a good blueprint for how we continue to grow the company, and obviously the potential upside for investors now. You know, looking at this project, 130 million project right next door that we can kind of tail into and be very much similar to. It's created a lot of buzz. You know, it's as high as I think $6 or $7 billion at one point valuation. I mean, that's the kind of torque that we see in our name, and we certainly believe that we're going to be able to execute on growing the company. This is see sort of the upside potential of where we are and the investability of the project, and in this current climate and this current pullback. I think for anybody looking long term with a real outlook on, you know, the EV space, the battery space, and demand for lithium, they're going to know that we're going to see price come back up, and we're going to see like this. They can move quickly, they're low cost, and they're high quality. I won't spend too much time on Uchalato. I think you get it's about 3 million tons, another area that we've drilled, and we're going to continue to explore around areas like this. But ultimately, you know, it's a beautiful deposit trending more east-west, 3 million tons, very wide, 30 to 40 meters wide, and the material inside it is quite beautiful. We've looked at it from an underground perspective too, but ultimately it wasn't part of continue to grow resources in these areas, and when it makes sense, we'll roll it into the broader study. Bit of a look at how soil geochemistry has worked quite well here. There's not a lot of overburden. There's about 3 meters. We're lucky that it's not more. So we're able to trench and get down to these pegmatites, but you know, they really need to be drilled to understand the grade. Surface depletion is an issue in the area, and if you don't understand that, then you don't understand that you know, the grade is deeper. By that I mean, you know, sort of 20, 30 meters below surface. But soil geochemistry seems to work very well, and we've been using that to target further. So there are areas that we need to follow up on and drill further, and ideally in a better market, we can be more aggressive. Same, you know, touching on Salinas here, moving to the north. This is when you're in the Latin Resources property that has over 75 million tons. This area now we are growing. We think it can be well over 10 million tons this year, and you know, and by the end, it'll be even bigger than that. We want to be more aggressive, but the market is poor right now, so we're taking our time. We have a couple of rigs on it at this point, but ultimately, this is an area that's extremely prospective. It's the same type of geology, the same kind of fluid source, and ultimately, we believe can produce significant resources over time. And to, you know, to my point, really not in our share price at all, and never has. So it'll be interesting to get a resource out and see if we can kind of highlight the prospectivity and the opportunity here to the north. Yeah, so our project has been granted priority status by the government. We signed an MOU with the state of Minas Gerais, and ultimately this is a process where they're going to work very, very closely with us to kind of take this project top of pile. This is an area of Minas Gerais that hasn't necessarily seen the same economic benefit as some areas like, you know, Belo Horizonte, which is, you know, near iron projects and really a mining community. You know, Araçuaí, Salinas, this is an area that could benefit significantly from this kind of infusion of work. And so it's been deemed you know, as well as being part of course, a green global movement. You know, it's been flagged by the state as high priority for moving projects forward. And this is the same thing that Sigma was able to do, and why they were able to move the project so quickly into production. I point to our team, and you can see in this photo, kind of a second from the right is Helio Diniz. He's done in the country of Brazil now, and certainly many he lives in Belo Horizonte as well. So he's well aware of how to move projects forward in the state. I mean, most people have never done one. He's done 5. It's really, really important to have people like that on your team, and having this kind of support from the Minas Gerais state is really pretty critical, as well as we try to move projects forward as quickly as possible. I've gone through a lot of these catalysts. I won't waste too much more time. It's already been 20 minutes, but you get the idea. We've had two mineral resource estimates come out since we started as a company, multiple new discoveries, a PEA with really strong economics. We've submitted for our construction license, which we should see by middle of next year, looking to be in production by back half of 2025. We have a full fees coming out next month. It's extremely fast. We're moving as fast as we possibly can. New resources on Salinas and Bandera, and by the end of the year, we should have even more resources on those as well. I think at that point too. So very, very excited about 2024. Was happy to finish 2023 and looking forward to what the rest of this year has ahead of us. I will touch on ESG here. This is something that we have flagged as we need to be leading the way on this. Again, projects around us, near us, have focused on this, and it's been important to be a part of the social outreach in this area. We've had a third-party review. We work with third-party groups like Onion and Irma to make sure that we are ultimately following best practice. And as we move towards construction, building this project, we want to make sure that we're in a place where we are making the be good corporate and social citizens, and ultimately this is important from the investment community as well. So we are trying to not just follow in the footsteps, but also see if we can achieve new kind of levels and be at the top of the industry on some of these key ESG initiatives. That's really it. I mean, I've highlighted a lot of it. I'll go through it again. I mean, this is one of the most important high-grade spodumene districts in the world. You're seeing projects that are struggling now in this environment. I think some of them are good projects, but they are higher cost, and the quality of the material is not quite the same. And I appreciate that is what ultimately makes this belt so important. But it's going to be make it basically, I think a rival to Western Australia, which is really where all the material comes from in the world now. And it's going to move fast, and it's going to become really, really important. And it starts with the rocks being the rocks. It can't just be drilled and manufactured. It has to be there. And we have one of the most important districts in the world. So a lot. We have a huge land package to explore. I think this project's going to be huge. We have the right team to do it, and one of the exploration teams, I think, certainly in maybe in the world, but certainly in this region. Really strong PEA. Economics are some of the best I've ever worked with, but I do point to it's a moment in time. It will continue to get better. The resources will continue to grow. We'll look to get new feed, new throughput, larger project, and we're just really, really excited about what we can do next. Infrastructure is second to none. Hydroelectric power, paved road, access to port, ship anywhere in the world, in a jurisdiction that is a well-known global trade jurisdiction. Just extremely excited about that. And proof of concept all around us. Signal Lithium, CBL, other projects that are looking to come online as well. So we can we're not necessarily cutting through the brush first. We're following in the footsteps of people projects up and running. And we obviously can learn from both what they've done well and maybe what hasn't gone as well. So we're very fortunate in that way. And it's not old. It just happened, a year ago. So we're very, very excited. And this accelerated timeline to production, of course, but really we've put it as a focus. We could have put focus on growing the resource bigger, faster, sooner, but we actually put the focus on being in production faster, sooner. So that's where the focus is now. So very, very excited for 2024 and into 2025. That's it for my presentation. I'll see if I can, maybe there's a couple questions here I think rolled in. Says the company seems to have a lot of land to explore, both at Itinga and in Salinas. What are your plans regarding the plant you build at Bandera? It's a good question. I mean, I think what we need to do now is after we get through the fees and we show the project economics and get through the permitting process, we can kind of step out now and show how we're understanding the belt better, and we can grow the resource faster than most. Areas that it will just make sense to feed the project we build at Bandera. In Salinas, perhaps it's a secondary project. Get a project like Latin next door that's looking to build at the same time as us. there's some synergies all over this belt. I think the areas closest to Bandera, we would obviously look to feed that singular mill that, even if you look at our map, it's all very close together. So that would make the most sense. And Salinas may be a second project, but I'm not 100% sure on that yet because we haven't modeled it for engineering. But certainly we treat them all as one project, or certainly explore them as one company now, but treat them kind of as separate projects. Thoughts on level of M&A for lithium projects in 2024-2025? I think this is actually a really good question. Probably what we're going to see a lot of coming into 24-25. The pullback in price, although I think has that falling knife effect for a lot of the investment community. Everyone wants to find the bottom, and they're a little nervous about where pricing goes. What I'm hearing now more and more is that mining companies are up in the space. They're looking to be opportunistic. This is also the time when you start to see consolidation in the space. Pricing gets to where it wants to be. Everybody of what they are now to us. So I think as the dust settles sort of on some of this kind of violent move in price, I actually think now is when you're going to see more M&A than we've ever seen in the space. So I'm very, very excited about 24 and 25 for that reason as well. I think it's going to be newsy. It's going to be interesting. And I think from an investment perspective, and there are a lot of really great projects sitting out there. Strategic support. So really, really interesting time. Are you primarily focused on offtake agreements with Western companies? I think we've been working with BMO on a process for offtake, and we listen to all opportunities, and we want to keep it as much value in the name as possible. So I think that we've tried to kind of prioritize that as an opportunity to go forward. I think it's really interesting. But we leave all of our options, as open as possible to create as much value as we possibly can. Can you give us some color on the expected mineral resource at Salinas? No, I can give a little bit, but we expect over 10 million tons. In Salinas, I don't have the numbers yet, so I can't sit there and promise, but excited about what we're seeing from an exploration perspective at Salinas. Everybody wants everything to be in production yesterday, but Salinas potential opportunity for us. Maybe I'll take one more here just because I'm running a little bit low on time. Do you expect cost? Like a little bit, sure, why not? But of course, we just watched a project be built next door a year ago, and I think so we have a good sense of what these things are going to cost. What is the iron content in the pegmatites? Less than 0.5%. It's some of the lowest in the world. Extremely clean. Like I said, one of the best jurisdictions. And at prevailing spodumene prices, do you expect supply curtailments? So I mean, this is a pretty broad macro question. I've been pretty open on it. Like a project like this makes money even in this environment. But look, I think we're going to see prices come back. I think that we're going to see excitement kind of rush back into this. But really, for us, we'd love to see $2,500, $3,000 kind of steady state pricing on spodumene because this project sings at that level. So I'll leave it there. I'm sure I can go on with more questions, but I am running out of time. So thank you very much for everybody listening, and have a great day.